All right. So we had spoken earlier and we wanted to know what active listening is. So active listening, as the name suggests, is fully concentrating on who? The speaker, right? So you are making what? You are making a deliberate attempt to understand what the speaker is saying. We understand that?
Yes.
You must, I want to hear you all responding to me because I want to be sure you got it, right? So when you are deliberately and you are intentionally listening, tell me some things that you are going to be doing. Come. What are some things you're going to be doing? You're going to be nodding.
Make a move.
You're going to make what kind of move?
Eye contact.
You're going to do eye contact. You raise. All right. She'll wave her hand. All right. Okay. So, because every day we communicate, we listen, we talk back, we listen, we talk back, we would have believed that we would have mastered listening, right? But what we don't understand is that most of the time we are simply hearing. Naturally we're hearing. Automatically we're hearing what the person is saying. But we are not necessarily actively listening. So, active listening is a conscious and deliberate decision to listen and understand the message of the speaker. You want to know what exactly is it that the speaker wants to say. And when we are going to be actively listening, we have to ensure that we create a space that denotes that we are really, really listening. We agree to that? And what we had said earlier, because some of your classmates are in here, is just going to go through it, is that we have to ensure that we eliminate all external distractions. And external distractions can be anything that is in your environment, right? So those external distractions can be, if you are in an office, you might want to close the door, all right? So we close the door so we don't have anybody coming in while we're having the conversation. We agree to that?
Yes.
All right, and another thing that we possibly want to do is that if we were on a phone call, what are we going to be doing to the phone call? We are going to be telling the person on the phone that I will be back with you. And just in case your phone should ring, you don't respond to it. Or you can ask somebody else to take the calls for you. All right? If you're actively sitting in front of your computer, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be turning the computer off, or you're going to be closing your laptop down because you want the person to be fully engaged with you when they're about to talk. All right? So active listening means that you are deliberately trying to eliminate all possibly outside forces or factors that can cause any distractions. Now, while we can fix the external distractions now, we now have to now actively start working on the internal distractions. And what did we say were some internal distractions?
Uninterested.
You may be uninterested. And the truth of the matter is, you may have some co-workers, or some teammates. The moment you see them, you know exactly what they're coming with. And what? You already start looking, you're not too interested now what I'm going to talk about today. Now. Same thing they come with last week or same thing they come with yesterday. Alright? Sometimes you are annoyed. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's the same thing. We can't deal. So you're already annoyed.
Fearful.
Or you are fearful. Now, fearful in this sense comes with the fact that you're saying, okay, All right. If it is your immediate supervisor and it's at the end of the month, you're not too sure what the conversation is going to be. So you already have a mindset of what you think is going to happen. You come in with prejudgments, you already know the person look, so you're already thinking what you know what the person is about to say. So you have your prejudgments and biases. And one of the things that happens is that when you are in the hospitality industry, because we are different in cultures, we have stereotypes that we'd have heard about. And if the person is a part of a certain cultural group, we would have had certain stereotypes that we heard about, and we think the person is like this. So therefore, you think you already know what the person is going to come with. But you have to be careful about that. So, because we are consciously now, we now have to empty ourselves of any internal distractions. So you have to get the emotions in check now. So you're going to be saying to yourself, all right, let me not judge the person based on any preconceived ideas that I would have about the person. Let me take away the fact that I heard this conversation yesterday because somebody kind of told me about the situation and I kind of hear one side of the story already. So let me not put it in my mind that I already know what's coming or I already know what the conclusion is. So I want to be unbiased, right? So when we are consciously listening now, we have to now think about our attitude. So my attitude is I am going to remain neutral. So neutral means I am on nobody's side. I did not hear the conversation before, even if you did hear the conversation before, you're neutral. And excellent listeners must always be neutral because there's always more than one side to the story. And in being neutral, we are better able to regulate our emotion and show more sympathy to the speaker. Because we come in not knowing anything and we are showing curiosity because we curiously want to know what is really happening. All right? So I must be aware of. So when the speaker is talking, it's always important to give them a very comfortable seat. So if it's a case where it's an office setting, give them somewhere to sit. You don't stand up and have them seated because what? It creates a master-servant type of interaction. You see that? So the person has a problem. You tell the person, oh, sit, and you stand up. Now, when you are seated, you must ensure that you are showing positive body language. You are showing a positive body language. So your hands must be on the desk. Your hand must be here like. What does this denote? If my hand is on my face and wants to talk to me and I'm like this already. You're already bored of the conversation. You're not interested. And any body language that has your hand in front of your body shows defensiveness. So this is saying I'm protecting myself from what it is that you're going to say. If your hands are open now, you're showing that, all right, I'm open to hear what it is that you have to say. Talk with me. You get where I'm going? So you have to ensure that these are the positive things that you're showing. All right? Your facial expression now must be, it must be pleasant, not grinning, but it must be pleasant. So at least they know that you are ready and you're listening. Yeah. And you always start the conversation with asking them, talk to me. What's happening? And you allow them to speak. Now, when the speaker is talking, don't stop them. Allow them to just talk. What you want to bear in mind is that you're listening for points you want to remember. So if they say something that you don't understand, you want to remember what they said. That so later down, you can ask for clarity. So when the person is talking, you are smiling. So So this is your, so these are the positive non-verbal things that you're supposed to be doing. You're smiling and you're nodding. And whenever you start to lean towards the speaker, it shows that you are engaged in what you're saying. I'm going to ask you to jump across and say, hey, hey. You, why you laugh? But you are slightly leaning forward. And in slightly leaning forward, it shows that I am interested in what you're saying. Yeah. Now, when the speaker is talking, you now have to read what they are doing with their body. So if you notice, they start folding their hand. This means they are defending themselves. They are protecting themselves. If they start to push themselves away from you, they're asking to come out of my personal space and not trusting what is happening. So you have to be mindful of that. If they're talking and they're pausing and they're closing their eyes, they're leaning their head, they're trying to remember information, you have to pick up on all of this. Two things can happen. If a speaker is telling you something and they consistently have to be pausing, and trying to remember, they can be making up things. Can be, not all the time. Sometimes they are doing that. Sometimes they are pausing, and sometimes they're pausing because they are ashamed or embarrassed about what the details are. Sometimes when they look on their shoes or on their feet, they feel embarrassed, especially based on the nature of the conversation. All right, so you have to be mindful of all of this. All right, so you must exercise patience. So my non-verbal cues is also that I'm going to be looking at the speaker. So when I smile and I nod, I'm looking at you, not staring like this. When you stare like this, and not only is it sarcastic, it can be intimidating. Because if you think about it, we don't really like straight persons when we're talking, Because if I am talking to you and I'm looking at you while you're talking, naturally you want to blink and turn away. You're kind of uncomfortable. It kind of makes it very vulnerable. The eyes are really the pathway to the soul. So it makes you vulnerable. So when you are speaking with when you're listening to the speaker, you're going to be doing a combination of things. So you're smiling and you are nodding appropriately to say, and the nod says, okay, I'm understanding what you're saying. And the eye contact says, I want to also understand your emotions too, or that it's all about you at this moment. All right? Now, when you do all of this, you must also do some verbal communication too. So those cues were all non-verbal. So the verbal things you want to say, oh, I understand. Oh, yes, that really happened? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. But you must be timing when you say all of this. And based on the conversation, you would know the correct verbiage to say. Jamaicans say some words things like, Achoo! That tell lie, I lie you a tell. For real? No, sir. Master God. Don't become so dramatic. Jamaicans, person tell us something. And worst of all, if it is something exciting they're saying to you, no, please not hit the person. There are some Jamaicans that like to hit when they talk. Me say, I met one the other day who I'm not going to call her name. Every time she talks, she hits you. And she has the finest hands in the world and it stings. I know she always apologizing. When it hit your heart, when you're hot enough but you can't say hot, but she does that. You have to be careful. Now you don't touch the person. Alright, so when you would have done all of this now, so yes, the positive feedback and you understand, so you are repeating. You now have to start remembering what the person is saying. So when the person would have told you all that they wanted to have said to you, now is the time for you to remember what they said. And when you are remembering what they said, what does that mean?
You're listening.
You are listening. So when you're able to relay to them what they said earlier, it shows you that you were listening. You remember as children when mommy said something to you and she said, what me just say a while ago? Heard the fun? So when you're able to repeat what they said, it shows that you're listening. And also too, by repeating what you said, the person can also clarify, just in case. They said, no, that's not what I said. I said, and they will continue the conversation and say, oh, so any type of misunderstanding, or if you miss the detail, you're able to now clear it up. Now, after you're done summarizing, you must now start to question. And you always start your question to say, okay, am I to understand that yesterday when you came to work, you found that all the files that you had placed inside the filing cabinet were missing? The person said, yes, that's what I meant. So, questionings, it must be probing. Not too probing based. If it is too sensitive, we don't probe too much. But if it is a case where you want to know more information, you have to ask questions. And sometimes when they were telling you the information, they didn't put everything in it. You know, they told you a part of it. But by asking a question, they're able to now add more information to clarify a statement. That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Makes sense, don't it?
Yeah, it does.
Good. So you ask all of that. And then when you are through, you are now able to paraphrase all that was said. So all the questions you ask for more information, everything, you're now able to clarify it. And you said, all right, so you're saying when you came yesterday, you found all the files that you filed yesterday were not in the filing cabinet. And when you checked, you found out that it was placed somewhere else. So the question you're asking me now to do is to find out who troubled your files. And she said, yes, that's what I want to find out. Who troubled my file? And you say, excellent, I will get that sorted out for you. That is just it. That is what the conversation that the speaker came to you with. All right? Now, there is something called mirroring that we never looked at, which is nonverbal, and this nonverbal cue. And it is said by psychologists that if you are in an interview, if your interviewer starts to mirror you, it's a high possibility that you'll get the job. So what mirroring is that you are doing a dance. It's a subconscious dance. Here's how it goes. And I want to become more mindful about when you start having conversations with your friend. Have you ever been walking on the road with your friend and you start finding out that both of you start walking at the same pace? When they both meet, you were just walking. But after a while, both of you start walking at a certain rhythm. You ever notice that two persons walking on the road and the two of them walking slow together? And now you at the back? So you want to pass? Alright, think about it. The next time you're out with your friends or significant other, the moment you start doing an activity together, start watching if you don't notice that both of your hands fall similarly at the same time. By the time you put your hands apart, their hands also go apart. If they start touching the face, you'll start touching your face too. If they start to yawn, you might start yawning too. If they lean forward, you might also start leaning forward. It's called mirroring. It's actually an unconscious dance that we do when we are relaying or interacting with each other. So if you like what the person is saying and you are in agreement with it and you are very comfortable, you start following even without you noticing what the other person is doing. you will start doing it too. And when we mirror, we are more likely to start showing empathy, and we're more likely to start showing sympathy for the person. Because like it or not, every conversation that we have, there is an emotional tie to it. Either it is a positive emotion, so we are agreeing and we like it and we feel comfortable, or we become defensive and it's heated and it becomes something big and combustible. You had no idea that there was so much science to one conversation. There is much science to one conversation. That is the reason why whenever it is that we're going to be communicating and we're going to be talking, any level of interaction, any level of communication that's going two ways, we must actively listen before we actively start to speak. There's a reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So ensure that when you are meeting with your clients or with anybody else, that we are going to be practicing active listening. All right, great.